Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very late starting and highly inefficient, stupid performance from me here at warrenthornton.com on Patreon. Have a look at this. Hello and welcome to the show. Now, we don't have James Rossi with us because he's very urgently needed elsewhere. We do have some Jeffrey Sachs for you, just so you know. We're going to start out. We've got an absolute ton to get through, and we've got some good Jeffrey Sachs, and we've got one or two Substacks that we're going to have a look at because they come up with some very, very interesting ideas and some very, very interesting things that you might not know a lot about. This, first of all. And as you can see, that's an absolutely horrific strike. Now, we were one of the first ones, and of course, we've got this. Well, we don't like to blow our trumpet, but the Chinese Daily News is reporting that we do appear to have the earliest independent voices to publicly and specifically attribute the February the 28th Minab school strike to a US missile, which is now shown to be a Tomahawk missile, and of course. It is saying that the show and the people that are on it, which is you guys, the show appeared in early March, and in fact on February the 28th, they turned around and they explicitly, along with Thornton, credited the missile and video analysis as US involvement. They had done this well beforehand, and they have a track record on their show. They focus on hidden agendas, discrepancies in official stories, and with access to exceptional sources and exceptionally intelligent people on his show. They are well ahead of many mainstream and alternative outlets. Thank you so much, everyone. And of course, the rapid details of the accusations on the day show that Thornton also has wonderful sources for an independent journalist, allowing him to beat the curve on those the curve on what became the accepted account. I do apologise. Trying to rush through it here. On the show, they repeatedly reference specific details like British targeting from Akwesasne, Cyprus RAF base, a known US and UK staging point, Israeli intelligence awareness of the school, and a Pentagon source for US casualties. Claims not widely reported elsewhere on day one. The missile attribution, aligned with the later verified evidence, shows that the Tomahawk profile, no Israeli Tomahawks, US command over southern Iran strikes, suggesting early OSINT or leaks or contacts of a very high nature, who not only identified the weapon type quickly, but also those involved in the strike, as was done so in China. So the mainstream media in China identified exactly what we did. So why wasn't that broadcast in the UK? And by the way, everybody out there that comes onto the show and talks, they were thanking you as well. So if China were telling everybody, why weren't these people? Nilis. Oh, Nilis, undo your mic.
It's fantastic that the Chinese are listening to your show, and the North Koreans as well.
Well, It's fantastic that you guys are getting I mean, I've had it before, but you guys are now getting praised as very intelligent, Nicholas, and you're one of them.
Well, I only talk because I can't really type very quickly, and but I wish more people would talk actually because I find it difficult to read in the chat. The messages come up very quickly, and then when I try and go into the chat, it's I quite often miss a video or two.
Yes. So here's the thing, Nicholas. For me, Mad Dog Weber is famous. Excellent. Here we go. The thing for me, Nicholas, as are you, Eric. The thing for me, Nicholas, if the Chinese were reporting this and they were reporting exactly what we said, that we've proven where the flights took off from Akrotiri Air Base. We've even named the actual aircraft that actually took off to do the targeting. Israel provided the strike package. The British targeted it, and of course the Tomahawk missile, more than one. The British flight lasted 52 minutes, and the Tomahawk missile strikes were 37 minutes apart. Why was this not reported on mainstream media, Neil?
Well, also, it's not reported on alternative media as well. It's not reported on the Duran, for example, and the Duran haven't caught up with the Rodriguez thing yet.
No.
And in a way, the Duran get a lot of their information off the mainstream media. Alexander Mercurius, he reads all the papers every day, which is quite interesting because he tells you what the from the Telegraph. He tells you what the British intelligence are up to, and he's very good historically. He's got a good historical understanding. But as Lord Pilkington said to his godson Julian Walker when he was a child, he said that Lord Pilkington was the director of the Bank of England. He said to him, almost everything that's printed in the press is not true.
Yes, absolutely. I remember a very old sage turning around to me and saying, the only thing you believe is in the top left-hand corner or the top right-hand corner, which is the date. And he said half the time they get that wrong. Jim.
Yeah, about contributing to your show. Like Nillis is very good, and half the time I want to say something, Nillis will have asked the question, or Louis would have, I mean, and a lot of the things that Nillis talks about, I'll have read and watched through to YouTube and other channels,
Yes.
And it is a pretty good show. It is well done to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. The only reason I read that out is major thanks to absolutely everybody. It's brilliant that people like the Chinese pay attention to our show, and let's hope that continues forever. Let's have a little look at this. I'm about to change the mood here, and you're about to go mad.
And I want to be clear. There should be no tears shed for the Iranian regime. This regime has inflicted death and imposed repression on its own people. They slaughtered 17,000 young people. And this regime has caused devastation and destabilization across the region through its proxies armed with missiles and drones. And many Iranians inside the country and across Europe and the world have celebrated Ayatollah Khamenei's demise.
Let's unpack that then. Around about 16,000, we've dropped that down from 32,000, 3,117, Ursula. And if you've got any different figure than that, by all means, come on the show and talk to us about it. Because I challenge you to put out any other names you have above the 3,117 that have been put out there. Because you can't. Because you're bought and paid for. And let's be absolutely honest here. And people inside Iran are not celebrating the death of the Ayatollah. They're absolutely not. Once again, you are lying through your teeth. And of course, we know full well that people have been out on the streets in massive numbers in support of Iran. Have a look at this.
Allah Akbar! Allah
celebrating the new Ayatollah. Okay. And that is while bombs are going off just half a mile away. Okay. These people are coming out and they're saying, oh, we're praising the new Ayatollah. There are bombs dropping all around them and they're out on the streets. 2 million people have so far come out on the streets for the new Ayatollah. Does that, 2 million, 20 million people have come out on the streets for the new Ayatollah. Does that sound like you to someone who is actually, should we, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like someone they're not helping or doing anything for? Does that sound like that? Does it really? It is quite incredible that these people are coming out with this nonsense. And of course, we're going to get more and more of this. Nillis.
Well, I know you can't really tell. We can tell from people's faces, but if you look at the old Ayatollah and the new one, they seem to have quite nice faces, quite sort of like compassionate faces. But if you look at Trump,
but they've done brilliant, Nillis, haven't they? Because they basically what they've done is replace the old Ayatollah with a new Ayatollah, just a younger version of the same one, and they've spent billions and trillions of dollars trying to overthrow the Iranian government, and they've spent trillions of dollars doing that. In 9 days, what they've done is just replace the old Ayatollah with a new one.
But if you look at the European leaders like Trump and Rubio and Ursula, there's something missing in them, I think.
Yeah, it's called a brain. I mean, these people are not very bright, are they? I mean, of all the people that are going to get hurt by this, it's going to be Europe. Europe is going to be devastated if the Straits of Hormuz stays closed for 3 months. Okay, absolutely devastated. But good shout. Eric Jones was next, then Sean Murphy.
Yeah, I've thought that for those who didn't catch the subscriber show, I did not know that the new Ayatollah is a military guy, and that's very good to hear.
Yes, it's it is quite staggering, isn't it? I've got to say. You sort of look at the new Ayatollah and you go, he spent a lot of time in, he's a military guy. He understands military tactics. He also understands when you're going to go to a war, the sacrifices and what it costs. So he's going to be in tune with his people. Trump doesn't have the first clue about people dying.
And I don't think he's going to be fooled with the peace ceasefire crap and like the other guy was and everything.
It's a complete misnomer. Let's face it. It's a complete idiocy. When these people start talking about all this sort of thing, they're talking rubbish. Sean Murphy.
Well, the new Ayatollah is the son of the last Ayatollah.
He is, yeah.
But he was elected by the council, not because he was the son. He was elected by the council, who are actually, the council's chosen by the people. He was elected by that council to be the new Ayatollah. So it couldn't be seen that he was going to be, there was nepotism involved.
Yeah, it is quite, and of course, Trump is said to be disappointed. Oh, well.
Because he didn't get a hand in choosing.
No, but this is the stupidity of these people. This is the stupidity of these people. Have a look at this. This is the Straits at the moment. Have a look at this. So this is the Straits of Hormuz. The only thing that's being allowed through there are already sanctioned tankers by the USA. So sanctioned tankers being allowed through. And rather than be, shall we say, sensible about this and try to find a way to find peace, what do they go and do? They go and blow up a tanker. They went and blew up a tanker in the Straits of Hormuz belonging to Iran. Here it is going up in smoke. Now, they've attacked 3 tankers in the Straits of Hormuz. I mean, what? Is that going to invite business to come through the Straits of Hormuz? Are you seriously going to tell me that people are going, oh, that seems like a jolly good idea? This ship that we paid absolutely, an absolute small fortune for, we'll sail it through the Straits of Hormuz while there's missiles flying, not just from them, but from the Americans as well. There is a lot of people that are not using their brains here. They really aren't. Now, I'm going to give you a heads up here. THAAD missiles, if they keep firing them at the amount that they are firing them, they're going to run out. Okay, they're going to run out of missiles literally in 3 months. Okay, the Patriot missile system, even worse. At the rate that they are firing, and I'm telling you now, they've got 1,012 of those left. Patriot missile system, Patriot missiles around the world. There's only 1,012 that the Americans can lay their hands on. Okay, those missiles at the rate that they are firing, okay, they will be done in 3 weeks. 3 weeks if they carry on using the Patriot missile systems that they are at the moment, and they don't go to, and then they're going to have to use aircraft to patrol the sky. Now they've already sort of been doing that, but the reason they're getting a third carrier there is not to carry out anything fantastic. It's because they're running short of offensive missiles as well. Sean Murphy.
Well, Warren, when you look at the size of the area that they are trying to defend with these Patriot missiles, which is basically all the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, Israel, who are pretty much almost out of missiles, I would think now, because they fired practically everything they've had. This is why they're getting hammered.
Yeah.
But all those missiles to go around all those bases and all those Gulf states and US installations, they ain't going to have very many. They might have a couple. They're going to have to be extremely selective as to what they fire them at.
Yeah, absolutely that. You're not wrong. And of course, the other lies that they're coming out with is saying that the US soldiers have died of health-related issues. What? You mean that health-related, one of those, is that it? The medical emergency drone, is that what you got hit by? They had some health-related issues. No, he didn't. He was blown up obviously in a tower block along with his 4 mates. Richard Evans.
Hi, Warren. Yeah, I just wanted to make a point, really. Like, when you're looking at our Western leaders and the way they behave, it just, when I look at Vladimir Putin, it just makes me admire the man even more, just the way he's conducted himself throughout this whole campaign against him,
I don't know what you think, Richard, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm with Jeffrey Sachs, and we'll have a bit of him in a minute. Jeffrey Sachs.
Yeah, I listened to him. I listened to him earlier. He was brilliant.
Yeah, he turned around and he said that they're mentally delusional, and they are. They are.
Yes.
Try and name me, apart from Viktor Orban, and maybe Orban, I think, is the only one. There's one or two others. Vucic is fairly sensible, but would you pick up a rifle? I know I wouldn't, but would you pick up a rifle for Starmer or for Merz or for Macron? For Maloney,
no.
For von der Leyen, for Callas,
no.
Is there nobody in the European Union you would fight for, Richard?
No, and nor would my kids.
No, exactly that. And they're talking about this as though this is some war that they can win. They already know they can't beat. I mean, what is Europe doing? These are the ones that are going to suffer when the oil. And we've already. I don't know. I mean, I've heard from a few people already that the pumps are starting to get very active in the UK. And of course, the prices are going up. And as long as the Straits of Hormuz keep, being shut, we're going to find that a real problem, Richard. I mean, we've now got oil at $118 a barrel. When it gets up to 200, it's
I'm down in the southwest, sort of in between Yeovil and Crewkerne. So
Yeah.
I haven't seen any mad activity around the pumps yet, but I filled up last week and it was 129 a litre of unleaded, and already now it's at 135 unleaded. You know, at most places I see at the moment.
And when those supplies start to dwindle, of course, the prices are going to go up even more. But here's the thing: we've got in any war, the most impact it had was a 5% reduction in oil that we could use, and petrol that we could use, or let's just call it oil. All right, 5% was the highest it ever was that that affected the market. It's now 20% already 20%. Nicholas.
Cool.
I think heating oil's gone up. It's doubled in price. Yeah, since this the Gulf War. But
yeah. Russians are happy. Look. Yeah, go on.
I found out something very interesting about Chinese democracy, and that was that in China there's a number you can phone up, and if you've got a pothole or if there's leaking pipes, or if you've come across corruption or anything like that, and you'll phone the number up and you'll get a reply within 24 hours, and they're sorted out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're quite right.
It's like democracy in action, really. And if it's something that's beneficial to the Chinese state, you'll even get a small monetary reparation.
You get a reparation. Yeah, absolutely. Here it is. Russia-Ukraine invasion. Round about 1 to 3 MBP loss. It's basically a metric they use for how bad it's going to get. The Iran-Iraq war in 1980 was at 4. Iran-Kuwait in 1990 was at 4.3. The Yom Kippur War, which saw the big embargo, that was in 1973. If you remember, that was 4.4. I was old enough to know that. The Iran Revolution was the worst in 1978. 5.6 it went up to. This is 4 times as much. This is 20. It's up to 20. Not even started getting bad yet, and it's up to 20. This is going to put oil prices up and up and up. And of course, we told you about the hockey stick. Once that hockey stick starts climbing, it doesn't come down straight away. And of course, Donald Trump is turning around and saying no problem at all. Short-term oil prices, which will drop rapidly when the destruction of the Iran nuclear threat is over. Well, I thought it wasn't a nuclear threat. I thought it was an oil thing, or was it the getting rid of the Ayatollah, or it's a very small price to pay for USA and for world safety and peace. If you hadn't bombed them in the first place, nobody would be paying for any more oil. The USA wouldn't be paying, the world wouldn't be paying, and the place would be a lot safer and it'd be a lot more peaceful. Only fools would think differently. I must be a fool. Sean Murphy.
Well, Warren, when you look at those rises in oil prices currently at 20%, and that's only in a week.
Yep. It is.
Just about a week, isn't it?
As long as the Straits of Hormuz stay shut, then it'll stay at 20% and then rise, because people will start shutting down their actual operations like Qatar have done, because they'll think, well, they'll just get bombed. So let's shut it down until we get stability throughout the region. But you're not going to get stability throughout the region because the USA and Israel are already calling Iran and asking for a peace deal, and Iran have said no. And quite rightly so. You know, people say, but why not? Why shouldn't you do that? Very simple. You shouldn't do it because they've been bombing and killing. The only reason they want it, they'll be back for another go. If you're going to get it done now. Yeah, do not capitulate to what America and Israel want. Oh, we bombed you, now we'll sail away and everything will be hunky-dory. By the way, don't drop any more bombs on Israel. Get out of here. Absolutely crazy. And of course, talking of crazy, Ben Gurion Airport is becoming very, very busy. So very strange. Suddenly people are wanting to leave in great numbers, and I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. Here we go. And most of them, guess where their destination is? They're all heading for their enclave. Now, does anybody have any idea which enclave we're talking about? Because they have made it very much a home from home in the last 10 years. Mo got it bang on straight away. Nicholas?
Yeah, well, I was going to either say Cyprus or Ukraine.
Yeah, Cyprus. Absolutely. They've been buying up property like it's going out of fashion in Cyprus. And of course, they're trying to make it completely an enclave. All the nonsense, by the way, from Kuwait and all the Arab states, the apology that was issued by Iran was, we don't want to bomb you, but stop allowing them to bomb us from your country and we'll be fine. Have a look at this. So that's launched at Iran from Kuwait. Kuwait, you made your own bed. Go lay in it. Same as Saudi Arabia. Nicholas?
No, sorry, I must have...
Just your mic open. Okay. Let's have a look at the. This is everybody turning around and going, oh, they're going to win. You haven't seen the Iranian secret weapon. Have a look at this. We go. Once they get the flying carpets out, we're all in trouble. But it's a bit of fun. But they are not going to stop. They really are not. This is one of the US radar systems in the Iraqi mountains. They found it. They bombed it. This is Iran bombing a US radar station. As I say, they've tucked it away in the mountains. They found it. They smashed it. And they are hitting the radar hard. And everybody's going, why aren't they doing lots of other things? Well, if you take away the enemy's ability to see you, to track you, that is a massive problem for you. You don't know where the enemy are coming from. You haven't got any early indication. Then that's a problem. Eric Jones.
I think this all stems from Russia being on their shoulder and telling them all this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. You're going to get it more and more, I'm afraid. This nonsense is doing the rounds. America are turning around, so it's completely fake. It was an Iran drone. It's not the Patriot missile system that's gone Beswick. Well, it is. Have a look. Let's replay that for you one more time. Have a look where it goes from. There we go. It's an Iranian drone that took off from there and landed over there. Sean Murphy.
Well, that Patriot never got very far, did it?
No, it didn't. They're trying.
Very high either.
Yeah, they're trying to turn around and say it was an Iranian drone. It was not an Iranian drone. It was complete nonsense. No. The Patriot missile system, 15% failures in the rockets. 15%. And they can't afford to have failures. Nicholas?
Yeah, I was going to say this 15% thing as well. And I think probably a lot of them are over 10 years old, aren't they? Because they're like dragging them forward. I remember Israel gave some old Patriots to Ukraine, and Ukraine's probably sent them back.
Yeah, it's quite crazy, isn't it? And people going, and you're seeing in the chat, and you're going to see lots of this, like your von der Leyen there saying, here's have a look at this. 20 million people today came out on the streets for the new Ayatollah. That looked like a bunch of people. And Tehran, of course, is almost rubble, but they don't care. They're coming out for this guy. And they're going to keep coming out for this guy. They're not going to give it up. And of course, many people are saying, oh, that won't happen. It won't happen. Yeah, it will. We're lighting the mood just before we get into Jeffrey Sachs. Now, we've got quite a long video of Jeffrey Sachs, but some of the stuff he had to say today was incredible. This is Donald Trump on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Okay, let's go.
It's definitely not D.
I called the president of Norvor. It didn't work, and it's not B. I already took it from Venezuela, but that's not the point. So it's probably A or C. I'm not sure.
You can take a joker.
Let's call Bibby. Very smart guy. Bibby knows this.
All right, let's call Bibi.
Hello. Bibi, how do you get the Nobel Peace Prize? Strike Iran, or C, work for peace?
Strike Iran.
Are you sure, Bibi?
100%.
Final answer, A, strike Iran.
There we go. That sounds about right, doesn't it? There are, of course, that has completely gone down the, should we say, down the tubes with what's gone on there. Let's stop my rambling and let's listen to Jeffrey Sachs. Now, you've got a good 3/4 of an hour of this guy. I'll give it about 10 minutes and then you can jump in at any time with questions. There's about 3 or 4 segments, so you may want to jump in with questions after you've watched each segment. Each segment is about, the first segment is 14 minutes long and the next one's about 10 minutes long. So do enjoy and listen to what he has to say, because this guy really does know what other leaders are saying, what other people are saying, and really what's going on.
Decided 40 years ago in Bibi's fervid imagination, but also this is a U.S. Deep state war as well, with everything amplified by a mentally unstable president, to just put it bluntly. What do I mean by this? Well, first of all, there was no cause of war. Iran was not threatening the United States or Israel. In fact, it was virtually begging for negotiations over the past 2 years, even after the first time of negotiations last June was interrupted by a U.S.-Israeli war. So the Iranians wanted negotiations rather fervently, and I met twice in the past 2 years with President Pezeshkian when he came to the United Nations. His entire remarks on both occasions were about peace, the desire for peace, the absolute insistence that under religious doctrine, under the fatwa of the late supreme leader, the one assassinated by Israel, they did not want nuclear weapons. They had already signed off against nuclear weapons. They just did not want to be attacked and overthrown the way that Israel and the United States are attempting today. So basically, this is not a war that came because of any exigency, any pressing matters, certainly not in any conceivable way a war that is legal under the UN Charter. Article 51 allows for the use of force in the event of self-defense of an armed attack. Of course, there was nothing remotely like that in the context of the Israeli-US attack here. So what is going on? Well, the first point to emphasize is that the United States and Israel never wanted a negotiated outcome with Iran. Not last year, not this year, and not during the past decade. How do we know that? Because they had one when President Obama negotiated the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the JCPOA, in 2015, an agreement between Iran and the P5 members of the Security Council, the US, UK, France, China, Russia, plus Germany, so the P5+1, and then ratified immediately, unanimously by the UN Security Council. There was an agreement for Iran to be under strict UN supervision, the International Atomic Energy Agency, to make sure that what Iran was saying and what it was saying repeatedly for decades, that it did not want a nuclear weapon, that its energy program was not for a nuclear weapon, was in fact the case. Now, important to know, under the JCPOA, Iran was in strict compliance. There was absolutely no sense in which what happened in 2018 was because of Iranian actions. What happened in 2018 is Donald Trump tore up the JCPOA. He said, we're not going to be party to it. We're not going to be party to an agreement not only duly reached and being implemented, but one that was unanimously adopted by the United Nations Security Council. Why did he tear it up? Well, his buddy Bibi Netanyahu told him to. Trump since then and Netanyahu since then have been in active delusion that they would simply overthrow the Iranian government, never wanting to negotiate. I had a very strange, unpleasant interaction with one of the U.S. negotiators last year when I thought I could be a little bit helpful to make a suggestion or two, because I thought there were actual negotiations going on, and I was extraordinarily rudely brushed off, and that was the last time I tried to make any informal suggestion about how to move forward. And it was clear to me from then something so weird is going on, because this was before the bombing last June. But it was absolutely clear how completely strange things were. There was no attempt at negotiation. Now, all of this became clear. I had to make one correction to what I've been saying. I've been saying for years that Iran is being targeted by Israel for 30 years. And I emphasize 30 years because 30 years ago, a political doctrine of Netanyahu and his American political advisors called clean break was issued as Netanyahu became prime minister of Israel. So I said this is a 30-year attempt to overthrow Iran. I stand corrected, because Netanyahu himself has made clear that even for 10 years before that, when he wasn't prime minister, it was also his dream. He's actually posted that this war is a 40-year dream. So that means it's not exactly driven by the events at the negotiating table, whether Iran was negotiating in good faith, whether what was happening with the Omani mediator was working. And of course, we also have to appreciate that the Omani mediator said extremely clearly the negotiations are proceeding. They were essentially a fake, a cover for a 40-year dream. Now, having said that, let me put this in context. I'll start 30 years ago with clean break. Clean break is the prevailing doctrine of the Israeli right wing, which runs the country with a lot of broad support, I should say. So it's not the case in the United States that Netanyahu doesn't have support for his violence. It's more widespread in Israel. Clean break was the doctrine that said there would never be a state of Palestine, and that the way to ensure that there would never be a state of Palestine in the two-state solution would be not to resist the militants such as Hamas that were fighting for a Palestinian state, but rather to take down every government in the Middle East, and I should add in Africa, that supported the Palestinian cause. And this actually built on earlier Israeli doctrines, extreme militaristic doctrines called the periphery doctrine, which is side with the countries in Africa or the Middle East that are non-Islamic if they can find them. So Christian countries or places with some Christian populations to fight the Islamic majority states, and especially those that support Palestine. So the foreign policy of Israel has been a policy to overthrow governments in the Middle East that support the Palestinian cause, with the ultimate objective being Greater Israel. Greater Israel is an ideological doctrine of right-wing Zionism, which says that Israel controls all of the land of what was once Palestine under the British mandate. But for many of these zealots, especially the biblical literalists in Jewish Zionism and in Christian Zionism, much bigger, in fact, than mandatory Palestine. But as the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, said a couple of weeks ago, in his interpretation of Genesis 15, Israel's rights extend from the great river of Egypt to the great river of Mesopotamia, the Euphrates. Okay, this is all mind-boggling. But let me come back to the main point. The main point is that since 1996, it has been Netanyahu's political doctrine to overthrow governments across the region that support the Palestinian cause. That's amazingly what this is about from Israel's point of view. The reason that the U.S. goes along with this has many potential threads and explanations. We can come back to that. Of course, part of it is the Zionist lobby in the United States, no doubt. Part of it may be blackmail under the Epstein files and that kind of thing. But part of it also is a U.S. doctrine of global hegemony that fits well together with the Israeli doctrine of regional hegemony. So it's not simply Israel telling the U.S. what to do, but the U.S. neocons, who are tightly linked, of course, with the right-wing Zionists, have a global doctrine in which Israel's clean break doctrine fits well, that Israel will be the agent or the partner in ensuring hegemony in the Middle East as part of a U.S. absolute doctrine to have global hegemony. Okay, so we're in something that's very long-term. It has a couple of peculiar features to it. One is that both the leader of the United States and of Israel are old, very sick men. They are mentally deranged. That's not a political judgment I'm making. It's my best guess, listening to lots of psychologists and psychiatrists about the actual state of affairs. They are both megalomaniacs, and again, not in a kind of a political cartoon sense, but I think in an actual clinical sense. They are extreme narcissists, and my view is that they're psychopaths, which is also a clinical condition, meaning a lack of remorse or sympathy for victims. And Trump seems to display this in massive extent. So you have an underlying political doctrine in two countries, U.S. global hegemony, Israeli regional hegemony for the sake of Greater Israel. You have two leaders who are old, corrupt, unhinged. And this, to my mind, is the basic reason that we have this dreadful dangerous, disastrous war underway. One final point, if I may say it, and then back to you. The clean break doctrine has been implemented by Israel and the United States for 30 years. So this is not a hypothetical. This is the actual implementation. And General Wesley Clark, who was the NATO Supreme Commander under Bill Clinton, told us after 9/11 about the application of this doctrine when he visited the Pentagon soon after 9/11. That's back in 2001. He was shown a document that said that the United States would engage in 7 wars in 5 years. The idea was to remake the Middle East. This was, in effect, the post 9/11 application of clean break. The 7 wars were Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. We've had all 7 wars now. It wasn't 5 years. We know from inside testimony that they chose as the first of those 7 in West Asia the attack on Iraq in March 2003. They expected that to be a walkover, and then they would continue on with the rest of the wars. But that one proved not to be a walkover. The U.S. got bogged down in the local civil war and violence for many years. And so they didn't reach Iran soon afterwards as they expected. But the fact of the matter is that all of the wars have now taken place. Libya was overthrown by brazen regime change operation in 2011. Sudan was destroyed by a heavily Mossad-led and supported insurrection by South Sudan that broke Sudan in 2. Now we have 2 civil wars, one in Sudan and one in South Sudan. Of course, Lebanon is in active destruction and Israel is invading again as we speak. Syria, the overthrow attempt began in 2011. Notice that Obama, our nice president, was leading the Libya and the Syrian wars. This is across all these presidencies. It doesn't really matter exactly who's president. But the Syrian overthrow was expected to be quick in 2011. It turned into a 14-year protracted, deadly war in which hundreds of thousands of people died. But that was a CIA-led operation called Operation Timber Sycamore. And Iran was the great prize. Iran is something different from all the rest. It's nearly 100 million people. It's a powerful country. Anyone who has read Herodotus, and I hope some people have, know that these issues with Iran or Persia go back thousands of years. This is a great civilization. This is not Lebanon, if I may say so, or some post-World War I construction. And so Iran was the hard case. Iran has its own long history, by the way, because Britain and the United States subverted Iran back in 1953, which was part of the long, sad saga of how the Western world has desired to wreck Iran throughout the 20th century. But having said that, they couldn't quite get to Iran until now. So this is 2 old, destabilized, mentally imbalanced individuals leading 2 militaristic states working side by side, not one wagging the other, but both working in partnership for their respective dreams of hegemony Bottom line, this has nothing to do with choice. This is pure imperialism of the most vulgar and dangerous kind. The aims are grotesque.
There we are. So that's Jeffrey Sachs coming out about that. And of course, we're going to get on to two other bits. What we've got is literally how it's going to impact. He's going to be talking about world leaders and Europe, and he's also going to be talking about oil. So jump in anytime you like. And of course, we're going to continue playing Jeffrey Sachs and his opinions on what is going on.
This is Israel with around 10 million people wanting to assert control over hundreds of millions of people. It's the United States with around 340 million people wanting to assert control over 8.1 billion people. Nothing less than that. So these are not only wars of aggression, they are wars of blatant and brazen imperialism. We're watching very old-fashioned imperialism. They are reminiscent of the 19th century. The point was, it had been for the world that World War II was so devastating, so horrific, and the nuclear age was so dangerous that this would not be allowed to happen again. It's not that we haven't seen wars of aggression before, and we had brazen imperialism by Europe and the United States for centuries. But the idea was that we had learned something. And the preamble of the United Nations Charter says this is to end the scourge of wars that have twice visited humanity in the 20th century. So what we are witnessing is the unlearning of what we had learned. We have no instincts in Europe or the United States, and certainly none whatsoever in Israel, which lives in the 4th century BC by many of its leaders, not, or 5th century BC. I shouldn't even be so generous as 4th century BC. This is brazen imperialism, and it raises many questions, of course. But for me, it raises the question, is there still a constitutional republic in the United States? And it's a very interesting question I think a lot about, because we have the paradigmatic case of the Roman Republic becoming the Roman Empire, traditionally dated to 27 BC, when Octavian declared himself Augustus and Princeps. This was the date usually given for the end of the Roman Republic. But what's very interesting, in fact, is two things. One, the trappings of republicanism in Rome continued after what we now call the start of the Roman Empire, because the Senate still met, they still wore their togas, they still had consuls and magistrates, and to someone living at that time, they might not have said, oh, now we're an empire. We once were a republic. This was a continuation, not an event. And secondly, 27 BC, the traditional date after Augustus defeats Mark Antony and so forth and declares himself Princeps, was itself a gradual process that goes back throughout the 1st century BC with Sulla, Pompey, the Triumvirate, Julius Caesar, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, the point is the U.S. has slid into empire for sure at some point. We have the trappings of constitutional republicanism, but when it comes to foreign policy, we are not a republic. We're not governed even by the sense of law. And when the Senate was asked itself last week, do we want to have anything to do with it? They didn't say, well, under Article 1 of our Constitution, it's our job to declare war. They said, no, thank you. We don't want to get involved in this. This is something for the emperor. This isn't something for us. So we're already in that mode of behavior. Of course, we've seen this for decades. The imperial presidency has been noted for decades. When did it really begin? Well, clearly it's a post-World War II phenomenon. 1947, it was a kind of clean break for us. This is when the CIA was established. That created the mechanisms for U.S. post-World War II imperialism. In January 17, precisely 1961, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was our most celebrated general, the supreme commander of Allied forces in World War II, and then later the president, issued a stark warning that the military-industrial complex was threatening the U.S. democracy. We used to read that as a warning about the future. I now read it as a statement of the time about the existing reality that Eisenhower was telling us we've been taken over. And I think we need to reread that. Arguably, just like you could date the decisive turn of Rome in 44 BC with the murder of Julius Caesar, arguably you could say that the American Empire came into full force on November 22nd, 1963 with the assassination of John F. Kennedy, which I think overwhelmingly likely was a CIA operation and was empirically the last time that a president stood up to the military-industrial state. So it is, in my view, not shocking that we see these wars of choice. They've been true all through my career. The brazenness of this is something different, as you note. There's not even an attempt at an excuse. There's not even an attempt at any kind of process. The American people are completely against this. Why is this? Two reasons. One, we have slid into imperial behavior over decades, and so all of the real institutions of control were long ago pushed aside. But second is the particular personality of Donald Trump, a dark triad personality of megalomania, malignant narcissism, and psychopathy. This is something different. You should not have a person like this as president. This is especially of such a powerful country. This is extremely dangerous. So we have this mix, but the underlying reasons is the erosion of the most basic constitutional checks. After all, I have to point out from a juridical point of view, the UN Charter is not only something that the U.S. subscribes to, it is the law of the land. It is a treaty duly ratified by the United States Senate in July 1945, which under our Constitution makes it the law of the land. But we hear little of the Constitution. The Supreme Court, thank God, rallied a few weeks ago and said Trump can't set the whole trade regime. That's unconstitutional. That was a glimmer of light. But when it comes to foreign policy, sadly, those same 9 justices would I don't want to put words in their mouth, God forbid, but would likely side with the imperial presidency. Why does Europe have not a word about this? Well, this is what we've been asking for years. How did Europe become a complete vassal of the United States, which it is? And it is a little hard to understand. Partly it's the selection of the leaders, which have to go through the U.S. approval mill, or they get pushed aside easily. Partly it is simple mechanics. If you have U.S. military bases on your soil, you are an occupied country, whether you like it or not. You have the CIA there, you have subversion, you have U.S. direct political interference. You are a semi-occupied country. But I have to just tell you how shocking it is to hear this. I was at the UN Security Council last week, I had been invited to testify about the war, and then the UK and the US blocked me from testifying. And this is par for the course. That's the least of it. But as I listened, of all people, the Danish ambassador launched into a tirade against Iran on the day that the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran. She couldn't mention that Iran had been bombed or that 150 schoolgirls had been murdered or that this was a violation of the UN Charter, an unprovoked attack by Israel and the United States. She didn't even mention that. She just went into a tirade against Iran. This is the one that someday will turn to the UN and say, how can you not help us with Greenland after the United States has invaded her country? I went up to her afterwards to have a word. I wanted to point out that this is not safe for Denmark. She looked up from her notes, looked at me, turned around and walked away. I called after her, could I have a word with you? Walked away. And so this is the state of affairs in our world today. Europe is useless. We know it. We bemoan it every day. Useless. Not a voice of sanity, except for Pedro Sanchez. Let's champion him because he's been very brave. And President Connolly of Ireland, who knows about this. But for the rest of Europe, nothing right now on this point. And so the U.S. and Europe don't uphold the learnings of World War II or the law of the international community in the UN Charter. We've lost the reflexes for that. And sorry to ramble on, but in 2003, many European countries, and I remember walking across the green with Dominique de Villepin, who had just spoken at the UN Security Council. France objected to the U.S.-Iraq war. Wonderful. We don't hear a voice like that in a major European country now. I have a general principle which I've tried to get instated for many, many years, which is that the United States should not be allowed to bomb any country when unless more than half the U.S. population can name 2 cities in that country. This would end all American wars. Americans know nothing about Iran. And that includes our leadership. Of course, I'm being jocular. We should not be bombing other countries, period. But the ignorance is beyond imagining. Donald Trump, of course, knows zero about everything. Everything. The man is a complete, total ignoramus. And that is not my testimony. That is what I hear from leaders around the world that deal with him. He's simple-minded, and this is also extraordinarily concerning. No, they don't have a plan. They don't have a strategy. They are relying basically on an old CIA failed ploy, which is get the U.S. into something and then escalate as needed. So that's not a military strategy. If it could take us back again 64 years to another CIA concoction, which was the invasion of Cuba, the Bay of Pigs in April of 1961. They had no plan, but Alan Dulles thought once we get people on the ground and if they get under attack, Kennedy will have to call in air cover and we will be in a full-fledged invasion of Cuba. Now the plan is we'll escalate as needed. That's why Trump talks about now openly, well, we're going to have to put soldiers in. We're going to have to put the boots on the ground, as it's called. I don't think this is going to happen, by the way, because the United States public is so much against this, at least 3-1 against it, and it's going to go to much longer, stronger opposition very, very soon as people see how completely reckless, violent, boneheaded all of this is. But the answer to the question is they do not have a plan. Netanyahu's plan is get the U.S. involved. Those who favor this have the plan that once we're involved, we'll just escalate as necessary. The whole thing is a complete concoction and debacle. And the best evidence of that is the market judgment, because that's a kind of summary of those who are whose money is directly at stake. Today, oil prices have soared well above $100 a barrel by some quotes that I saw just in the few minutes before we started, up to about $120 a barrel. Oil is on the route to doubling in price over this very early stretch from the pre-war price until today. It's not quite there yet, but it's headed there. This is an economic calamity, but the point is that those who put their money down in bets, and the market bet on energy is the cleanest and clearest of this bets, is that we have a disaster unfolding. Yeah, if I could just say on the tariffs very briefly, I said, A, they're illegal, brazenly illegal. B, they wouldn't reduce the trade deficit. 3, they wouldn't create manufacturing jobs, which on our February report are down 100,000 jobs from last year to this year. The whole thing is so incredibly imbecilic. Okay, I'll put that aside. On this one, you know, this is weird, but my PhD dissertation 46 years ago was on oil shocks. It was doing the first modeling of the oil shocks of 1973-74 and 1979-80. And I wrote the first book about that, the economics of worldwide stagflation, published in 1982. So I've been thinking about this for decades, actually. The fact of the matter is this is an extremely serious shock to the world economy. It is likely to be prolonged. Of course, we're in the very first days, so things can change, but it doesn't seem like the U.S. is backing down, and it does seem like the energy facilities of the Gulf region and Iran are being destroyed or heavily damaged. And one country after another is shutting in its production because you can't produce if you can't store or ship. And they can do neither right now. So we're seeing soaring oil prices. We're seeing another important indicator, the volatility of the stock market soar once again. That's called the VIX index. That is also a predictor of a serious economic crisis. So I believe we're entering into a worldwide economic crisis this year. When it happened in the 1970s, output relative to trend, in other words, taking into account that world output has an underlying upward trend, and then comparing where things were a year after the oil shock from where they were would have been expected to be, the downturns in both 73, 74 and 79, 80 were on the order of 4 or 5% of world output relative to trend. Very sizable shocks. A lot of economic pain, a lot of unemployment. I think we're heading for that right now. Of course, things can change. These are early days, but at least as of the past few days, those who really are watching in minute detail what's being blown up, what production is stopping, what the chances of the U.S. military opening the Strait of Hormuz and so forth. What they're telling us is this is a very, very serious economic crisis lying ahead. And I think that it comes in the context of a lot of weakness in the U.S. already. The jobs declined in February. They've basically been stagnant or in decline for several months. Europe is in persistent crisis in a very weak state across Europe. So I would expect that this would mean a downturn in both the United States and Europe this year. Trump being insane, actually. Oh, so oil prices will go up. So it's the price we have to bear. The voters will have a different idea very soon. This will be true across Europe. There is revulsion at the political class in Europe. There is revulsion of Trump. And we need to remember these are the people we see strutting on the stage. They are not liked. They are not popular. They are not following public opinion whatsoever. And occasionally, rarely, but occasionally, the public gets a say in this, and the say is not going to be a happy one.
There we are. So that was Jeffrey Sachs. Sorry, it was quite a long video, but I thought he had plenty to say. And of course, there's plenty to talk about. Now, he was talking about a hell of a lot of this stuff, and let's take you on to some videos now, because this is some stuff here that we need to look at. Here's Bahrain's oil terminal burning really, really quite fiercely. That's been hit by Iran. All the people that are turning around and tell you Iran is not launching. Iran is launching, and it's turned around and literally said to the USA that from now on, it'll be launching even fiercer. It'll be launching even more. And of course, everybody is turning around and saying, oh, they've only got 128 launchers left. If you believe that, you're very, very stupid. They have turned around and said from now on, they will be using over 1 ton warheads and will be going for the targets they really intend to hit. So that's them turning around and saying, we're far from done here. We're going after it. And of course, the son of the Ayatollah who has taken over is more hardline. Now, does this have a real problem for us? Does, as a lot of problem for the banks too. Yeah, as you can see, and nobody's going to be upset about this, but as you can see, BlackRock are suffering. Their shares, they're literally, they're down 7%. And very simply, on the global markets and everything else, they have stopped people from withdrawing money. Oh, I do apologize. They have stopped people from withdrawing money. So that just goes to show you how bad it is. You've got to give a very good reason now to get your money out. And of course, the US State Department is coming out with all sorts of nonsense, saying it's going to send people in to seize the nuclear stockpile. Well, it's not. And there's a reason it's not, because they can't get anybody to join in. The Kurds have turned around and said no. The Syrian Kurds have turned around to other Kurds and said, don't you dare, under no circumstances, do you go in and help them out whatsoever. And they were trying to get the rather poor people of Balochistan and Sistan to join in and go and start having a war with Iran, of course. And they turned around and said, no, thank you very much. So they're out. The Kurds are out. So that just leaves Israel and America and whatever forces. And of course, they're desperate to get something going, desperate to say, look, Saudi Arabia, that they're not going to be of any great use. And of course, they want to get Azerbaijan involved. Azerbaijan are not having a bar of it. Armenia might, because they get on slightly better with America and let them use the corridor. But the Armenians are well, shall we say, online with everything that's going on. So of course they're not going to get involved whatsoever. And of course we've got more and more Israelis looking to leave the country. Now, if you're safe and there's no danger from these bombs that are dropping, of course, you're not looking to leave the country. So many people are turning around and saying, oh, Israel aren't being hit. Israel are being pummeled. Okay. They are being hit very, very hard indeed. And many people, as I say, are turning around and going, no. Lee Williams.
What country they're going back to? I bet there's more than 100 different countries, but
I bet you there is as well.
Yeah, mate.
This is inside Israel.
Yo. Wow.
And when we turn around and tell you that they are running out of air defense missiles, they absolutely are. And of course, they've got to take more risks. They've got to use helicopters and they've got to use jets to try and knock them out. But of course, the Mossad radar is getting found and it's getting smashed to bits. So they, as I say, that's another view, the strike on the one on the mountain top that they were using. And of course, more and more of these are going down. Rishon LeZion, which was the very first Israeli enclave. Which, of course, is seen as, shall we say, the Zionist spiritual home. That's been absolutely walloped. And, of course, many people are turning around and going, oh, the Russians are helping them out. Sean Murphy.
Well, that area was absolutely hammered 7 months ago, wasn't it, when they had to go before within that 12-week part of the war.
It was. You sound like you're miles away there, Sean.
Sorry, Warren. I'm
go.
miles away. That's why I'll swing it back to me. No, that Rishon LeZion, whatever it's called,
Rishon LeZion.
Rishon LeZion was hit quite hard in the 12-week war, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And of course,
they're getting. I mean, I've seen those maps today that guy puts out on that site, and I think they are probably fairly accurate. And they are that the whole of Israel, really, Haifa, Tel Aviv, Beersheba, are getting absolutely hammered.
They are. And of course, nobody.
And they've got no defence, and they don't even know that these missiles are coming towards them because they've knocked out their early warning system. Pretty much.
They certainly have. They've hit another one. In actual fact, another one of their radar stations that gives them all sorts of, shall we say, all sorts of. It's called the Bet Shemet. Let's have a look. So this is it in better times, and that's now been hit. We are being told it's out of action, and of course, they're starting to do this on purpose. They're doing this on purpose to try. Here we go. Here's a picture of it, how it looks now. So the whole idea, as I say, there's 26 radar stations there. They've taken, or 26 radar dishes there. They've taken every single one of them out. They're starting to hit the eyes and ears, and they're doing this a lot. This isn't random. They're doing this on purpose. And of course, once you take away the ability, then there's a problem, isn't there? This, as I say, you've got Tel Aviv that's being taken out at the moment. Many people turning around and saying about the oil. The oil is bad. And many people there's a lot of nonsense that's talked about this. And many people turn around and go, "Oh, we've got a major problem. It's a terrible regime and all the rest of it." This is in May 2025. This is just before the actual strikes. This is Iran. can't get any more oppressed than that, can you? Let's get into a couple more things that are really interesting. Nicholas?
Yeah, and also it's probably one of the most liberated places for women in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Rather than being in the Middle East, you've got women doctors, you've got women professors in the universities, you've got women in the government, and there's women working in all aspects of Iranian society and professions, which you won't find that in Saudi Arabia, or
No.
not even in Egypt actually.
No, you won't. Not a chance. And of course, it is one of the most backward countries going. No, it's not. Of course, many people are saying that that's the case. Now, of course, you've got lots and lots of people that are still coming out should we say, the idiots coming out. Here's Richard Tice, for instance. You know him from the former leader of Reform. And of course, if you turn around and think he doesn't take the Israeli shekel, you'd be very much mistaken. Here we go. Look, this is Richard Tice. The must apologise. Will Zach Polanski and MSM apologise for spreading fake news? This is Noah Berg, by the way, who is a notorious Zionist. The regime in Iran has now confessed the IRGC mistakenly bombed an Iranian school. This was on the 1st of March. And of course, we'd already put out the actual truth. But this is Richard Tice, not bothering to find out, just coming out with any old nonsense off any old Zionist site. Richard Tice, from me, you're a prat. Learn, first of all, what you're doing. And just in case you think the X isn't full of these absolute lunatics, this is one called Mashi Elinajad. Now, of course, can you see this? I mean, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? She's saying, tonight in Tehran, explosions everywhere. People are terrified. At the same time, the Islamic Republic has shut down the internet, leaving millions in darkness and forcing families around the world into painful uncertainty about their loved one. Silence, fear and suffering. This is what ordinary Iranians are living through tonight. That's all Iran's fault. It's not because America are bombing. However, when you go and check her out, turns out, well, look at this. She's got she's had 46 transactions of over $834,000 from the United States government. How did that happen? I wonder. Just goes to show, do go and check where these people are from. 9 times out of 10, you'll see that they're bot accounts. There is something very real that's out there. Lee Williams.
Anything to do with USAID at all?
Just a bit.
As a guess?
Just a bit. Of course, that's exactly where it's going to come from. Now, the thing, there is something that's very real out there, is the hotline. Here we go. This is Iran's safe line, by the way. You will remain completely anonymous, by the way. It is a very secure line. Your voice reaches us. Now, you can phone them up and give them a whereabouts of where the Israeli and the US troops are being placed. So there's a direct hotline there that you can contact them on and say, look, they're over here, by the way. Until, of course, Tel Aviv, parts of Tel Aviv are blacked out from where the strikes are coming. And, of course, parts of Tel Aviv as well are getting hit and pummeled during the daytime. Anybody telling you that Tel Aviv is not getting hit, lying through their teeth. This is today, okay? And they took out a Mossad area. Well, we are told it was a Mossad area that they took out. So, as I say, we'll get back to a couple of videos now so you can have a little look. This is very simply, this is the port of Bandar Abbas. They decided, America once again decided it was a good idea to bomb the port of Bandar Abbas, a completely pointless thing to do. You need that to navigate the ships through the Straits of Hormuz. All you're helping to do by bombing it is close it. You absolute idiot. So they're bombing tankers and they're bombing the port as well. Doesn't seem like a sensible thing to do. If they think that is going to be the way to open it, they've got a terrible, terrible shot coming. Have a look at this. This is the oil facility in Bahrain.
شال خيبر من عرجها شردة الفرسان والخيالة على.
Now that is Bapco. They're going to have to shut down production. Going to push the price of oil even further. And let's get into some of this because you don't want to miss out on this. You don't want to miss out. Here's some Americans out of control. Have a listen.
The goals of this mission are clear, and it's important to continue to remind the American people of why it is that the greatest military in the history of the world is engaged in this operation. It is to destroy the ability of this regime to launch missiles, both by destroying their missiles and their launchers, destroy the factories that make these missiles, and destroy their navy.
I thought it was regime change. I thought it was to stop nuclear weapons. Never mind. What else is it about, Marco?
Single day, this regime in Iran has less missiles, has less launchers, their factories work less, and their navy is being eviscerated. And the world is going to be a safer and a better place when this mission is accomplished. And
Will it? Or will you be actually going to bomb somebody else? Say Turkey or somewhere like that? Lee Williams.
I thought he was talking about America itself then, just for 1 minute.
It is incredible. And of course, we've got lots and lots of this that is coming out. Have a little look at this. This is Hegseth as well. This is this idiot. But listen.
You were asked earlier in the week about this girls' school. You said the U.S. was investigating it. Have you made any conclusions about whether or not the United States, inadvertently or not, was involved in any military strike at that school?
Well, we're still investigating, and that's where I'll leave it today. But what I will emphasize to you and to the world is that unlike our adversaries, the Iranians, we never target civilians.
There was a report late in the week from 2 officials that it was likely U.S. involvement. Is that report false?
I've already said we're investigating.
If you could tell the American public it definitively was not us, you would tell us, wouldn't you?
I would say that it's being investigated, which is the only answer I'm prepared.
John Murphy.
Well, they never target civilians, Warren.
Yeah,
they target the houses they live in, the hospitals they use, the schools that the children go to, but they don't target civilians.
No, never.
Police stations, train stations, but they don't target civilians.
No, they didn't target civilians. They didn't slaughter a whole village in My Lai either in Vietnam. Louis Bastard.
Oh, they're still investigating that one, Warren.
They are. Yeah. They're still not sure if they're guilty. Louis Bastard.
Hi, good morning, Warren. Good evening, all.
Hello.
I don't understand how the American public have not yet opened their eyes and shut all over the American Senate. I don't understand. Americans are not standing up, have not seen it, but I'm sure many Americans know what is happening, but they too much of puppies and pussies to open their mouth and stop the government.
I think it's all they're doing is being stopped. To be fair to Americans, I think they do know and they are opening their mouths. I think the problem that we have, and Eric's an American, and I'm going to let him in a minute, is very simply that half of the people are not able to see half of this because it's blocked, and the other half are shouted down and screamed at online until they shut up. I think there's 75% of the Americans out there, the American public, don't want this war. So there are good people out there. Eric Jones.
Yeah, it's really mind-blowing to me. I have a couple of friends from back in East that I've been close to for a while that I consider fairly, intellectual and, logical when it comes to things. And I presented them with the Barron Trump. I presented them with all the school stuff right down to the who targeted, where it went first. Not an eyelash was batted by the Trump people. Not so much as they're just not budging. So those are the real hardliners.
Yeah, the MAGAs. So there you go, Louis. There's your answer. They've been. It just goes to show, doesn't it? I wonder, Louis Bastos, if the MAGA hardliners are just these Christian Zionist lunatics. You have to ask that.
I'm sure that it's too complicated in America for people. People are so busy, I think, trying to get out of their own lives and get out of the shit they live with, because it's not easy in America. I know because my son lives there, and he's having my second grandchild's on the way. He's lucky that he's got a nice job as a safety officer in construction business in the company, and but there are not many people who are happy, and they're not getting what they want in life, and everything is so expensive in America. And now with 2 cars, I'm sure he's going to have to pay a lot of money for
it's
fuel.
going to be a lot more.
It's just, I feel very sorry because I know a lot of Americans who really, 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 really suffering at the moment, because I have friends there, sailors in Minneapolis, and people that really want to get on with life, but they cannot.
Wait for the midterms in November. I think they're going to be absolutely shocking. But good points. Thank you very much, Louis. Richard Evans had his mic open, and then we'll go to Nillis. Richard?
Yeah, just a quick one. I think as in regards to people waking up, I think there are a lot of people waking up, but unfortunately, I think the propaganda campaign from the media, there's a lot of people that just simply will not believe anything unless they've seen him on like BBC News or Sky News. Like, there's so many people that are stuck trusting those people,
Yeah, they're walking around with their wool coats on. Nah.
Yeah.
If I didn't see it on the BBC, it didn't happen. I know that.
Yeah.
I know exactly the sort of people you're talking about, Richard. They wouldn't be seen dead on a program like this. But the problem is, as long as we're here to keep that light on and burning bright and showing people what's really going on, hopefully, I mean, there's not as many people. You're absolutely right. Who politically, or should we say, aware of world events as there was in the 60s and 70s. Even though they have more access to it, they're more shut off from it for some reason. Nillis?
Yeah, I've said this many times before, but on the national scale, we don't have grassroots democracy like we used to do. What I mean by that, that the local constituencies don't choose their own candidates. Their candidates are chosen by a central office and parachuted in. And the local constituencies have a choice of what has been handpicked. So they get three candidates who they can choose from. And they're all yes men from the central office.
Yes.
And I think Nick Griffin put it quite well, because you said about being an independent candidate, and he said, well, good luck with that, because they'll run you around in circles. You'll find it very difficult to post your leaflets. They'll make you do a lot of work, and they'll charge you a lot of money for it. And even as we know from George Galloway and other people who've run independently, votes are, if they want a election to go their way, that they will fix the ballots. Even in England, they will fix the ballots. George Galloway, when he last ran for the Workers' Party, he was convinced that they had fixed the election.
Yeah. Well, that's why you've got to have the likes of James Rossi, who are going for the local elections. Always say, take back your council first, then do it. It's a crazy way to do it. Think you can just run and suddenly everybody get known by the locals for doing things. Mark Onza.
Quick one, Warren. Just going back to current prices on oil. Surely it's viable now to, for North Sea oil for our country. Why do we not benefit from North Sea oil compared to what's with Norway and what have you? Why are we not benefiting?
We've signed up to the billions and billions to be made from clean energy, buddy.
What a joke.
Yeah. Remember that they turned around and said we had a 22 billion black hole. Do you remember that, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
When they came in?
It well.
21 billion in subsidies and contracts Keir Starmer handed out to green energy companies on his second day of office.
That's ridiculous.
21 billion that he could have just wiped out the debt with. But he didn't. He didn't. 21 billion in subsidies.
That's
Nillis.
crazy.
It is. Nillis, and then Lee Williams, then Sean Murphy. Nillis.
I think it was the Conservatives that capped the oil wells under Boris Johnson during they decided to do it one of the COP economic eco summits, and but the thing is, if you look at the people of Norway, they've got something called the Wealth Fund, and their oil, a portion of their oil, which is owned by the government, is goes into this wealth fund, which pays for schools, education, everything, welfare, and every year, because it's been invested well, it increases. And so this wealth fund is increasing every year. They've got a big surplus.
Yes.
If you remember, let's talk about using that surplus to give to Ukraine to plug in this $90 billion or euro loan.
Yeah.
And
give it all up. Give it all up for Ukraine. You know you want to. Nillis, just sell your house and all its content and give it to Ukraine and go and live on the streets. Come on.
But the British government didn't do that with North Sea oil. We had more than Norway did. What we did, we sold it off cheap to the oil companies, and they're the ones that are making the profits from it.
Yep, you're not wrong. Sean Murphy, then Lee Williams, and then I'll answer Eric's question. Sean Murphy.
Well, just going back to you were saying about people finding it difficult to get elected. There's an ongoing case at the moment through, I think it's from, what's his name? He's been on the programme, for the English Constitution Party.
Oh, yeah.
Who we're in the wrong corner. Graham Moore, that's it, yeah. Big Paddy Dragon, Graham Moore. The English Constitutional Party, who he runs, when they were in the Helsby and Runcorn by-election, and the post office, they paid for loads and loads of deliveries, things to be put in people's doors, and the post office kept hold of them and didn't deliver them. So there's an ongoing court case at the moment over that.
Never trust anybody to do that job. You get a band of 100 willing helpers, and they go around and talk to people on the doorstep. And if they're not there, they put a leaflet through the door. Never ever trust the bloody postal service to do that. Remember the postal
because
service,
they didn't do it.
of course they won't.
They dumped them, but still took the money for delivering them.
Of course, the postal services will take money from people as well. The high ups will take money from people to not deliver leaflets. So
it wasn't cheap. So
no, of course not.
There's an ongoing court case at the moment over that,
and rightly so. Rightly so. What you want to find is a whole batch of these where they've been dumped, and I suppose I would imagine they've done just that. Lee Williams.
I was just going to mention exactly what Nelly said. It was something to do with Norway taking over an area above Scotland, and it's a new place for oil. So how is it Norway got there okay, and even Scotland, as in the UK, could not even do that themselves? You know?
You haven't read the leaflet, have you? You will own nothing and be happy.
Happy, yeah, got it, yeah.
There you go.
Exactly.
Eric Jones says, Warren, if they did attempt a ground invasion, Iran would unleash thousands of drones, wouldn't they? Yeah. I mean, first of all, they'd be hammered on the simple as that, on the drones. Secondly, the problem that we would have, or they would have, is the mountainous terrain. They can't speak the language, so they're probably not going to be able to read the road signs. GPS is sort of very flaky out in the mountains as well. They know the terrain. They've fought in it before. There'll be ambushes. You don't want to get taken alive. So, yeah, I mean, you'd be on a hide into nothing. And already the first incursion, remember the first incursion that had taken place from Turkmenistan was an abject failure. So they're not going to be trying that again. Let's have some more videos. Nilis, very quickly, because we've got a ton to get through.
I think for GPS, you need a satellite signal.
do.
Didn't you say before that China's maybe blocking that signal?
Yeah, can jam them. Absolutely. Absolutely spot on. Let's have a look at this. This is something that you might look at and go, not so sure. We're back to Hector again. Here we go.
I want to say, though, and the president's been clear about this, it doesn't mean they won't have some get through, as we tragically saw. And we're going to greet those families at Dover and honor and respect the sacrifice they gave. And the president's been right to say there will be casualties. Things like this don't happen without casualties. There will be more casualties. And no one is, I mean, especially our generation knows what it's like to see Americans come home in caskets. But that doesn't weaken us one bit. It stiffens our spine and our resolve.
Does it? It stiffens your spine and resolve. So when they came home, can you tell me why this happened?
As the fighting continues, the president pausing for a moment Saturday afternoon to offer a final salute to the 6 U.S. service members killed in an attack in Kuwait, admitting there may be more.
So there we are. That is, of course, wonderful that you are there to salute them and everything else. Trouble is, when he turned up at the Air Force Base, he was wearing a hat and a different colour tie, and that's a video from 2025. Should tell you a few things. If it doesn't, see me afterwards. Quite incredible that they would come out with that nonsense, of course. There are many, shall we say, strange things that are going on, let alone, shall we say, the old footage of Trump coming out. Medicines in Iran. Have a listen to this.
I want to talk to you guys about what's going on in Tehran. The United States of Israel, as Samira, one of my favorite Iranian journalists in the West, calls it, bombed an oil refinery as well as an oil depot, and everything is on fire, and that has actually resulted in petroleum leaking into the water. It's obviously contaminated. As Ariana pointed out in her video on this, you can go to her page, Ariana Jasmine. She made a video talking about the environmental hazards and health risks that come with everything being on fire, which is smoke inhalation, debris inhalation. We all know that by now. And I want to take it one step further, because they've also targeted 14 pharmaceutical sites in Iran. And for those that don't know, the sanctions make it so that Iran has to produce all of its own medicine. And that's the only stuff there is in the country right now. They've targeted 7 Red Crescent sites and I believe 4 hospitals. I'll put the infographic here, but do you know how insidious it is to cause environmental hazards to one's health and then cut off the medical supply of the country knowing that they can't get more?
There you go. And they're doing that. I've put a link in, by the way, to a Morgan Substack. And the reason I've put that link in, he's got an interesting take on it. You might want to read it. I don't necessarily agree with it all, but it's thought-provoking. And he's saying that basically the whole war is being invented by the military-industrial complex to basically smash up everything and to take money off of you. So go and have a read. I have put the link in there. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, talking about Saudi Arabia and the billions of arms sales and the defense industry getting richer. Well, we know that happens, and the banks getting richer. We always say that anyway. And many other things like the playground that is going to be zoning maps and the playgrounds that's going to be that we've already spoken about to do with the Greater Israel Project. So the link's there. If you want to have a look at it, it's quite an interesting one. And of course, we're going to see more and more of that. What we're going to see also more and more of that. Look at this. The US say they are dismayed by Israel's strikes on oil. Now, that's from Barak Ravid, who works for Axios. So that's the State Department basically trying to make Israel the scapegoat. America knew full well what they were doing. And of course, they condoned it and even helped to do it. Just in case you didn't think they're working together, Witkoff and Kushner are meant today to go and fly to see Netanyahu. Of course, they're not going to do that. Of course, they're not going to do it. But they were going to see, they'll do it by video link. They were going to see Netanyahu, these two guys who are peace envoys, real estate brokers, really, but they've got the title peace envoys, were going to see Netanyahu for advice. For advice. Not to say, look, let's get a stop on this and this, that, and the other, and all the rest of it. For advice. Sent there by this man.
It's like asking the devil for advice.
It just, yeah. It's and of course we've got enough devils out there. Let's see a little bit more of one devil. I think this might be. Here we go.
The plan for succession is not going well. How about the war itself? And I don't need to hear from Donald Trump this time. Surely there must be a more sober voice in this administration.
America is winning decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy. Iran cannot outlast us. We control their fate. They are toast, and they know it. This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it is not a fair fight.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Come on, dude. Not a fair fight? That's not usually something you hear the good guys say, which, remember, that's us, right? Let's try again, and this time avoid sounding so much like a bully.
We are punching them while they're down, which is exactly how it should be.
Dude, what the dude? Why does the Secretary of Defense sound like a cheesy movie villain?
America is winning decisively, devastatingly, and without mercy.
Mercy is for the weak. An enemy deserves no mercy.
We control their fate.
We will decide your fate.
We are punching them while they're down.
Always kick them when they're down.
And President Trump got the last laugh.
Looks like it's I who will have the last laugh.
Fun fact, that evil Muppet also got a start as a weekend Fox and Friends host. So, but I guess Secretary Pete's bravado clears one thing up. This is very much a war, which puts him at odds with what senators like Mark Wayne Mullen have been saying.
This isn't a war. We haven't declared war. We are not at war with Iran. This isn't a war.
Now, let me just stop you there when it comes to Mark Wayne Mullen. Mark Wayne Mullen is the man who sits on the executive committee giving money to Israel.
This isn't a war with Iran.
Yeah, not a war? I thought it was obviously a war since, you know, you've been speaking next to a map of all the places we're bombing in the war. Also all the, you know, in the I don't know how it all works, okay? And I'm not the only one who's confused by this because it seems like Mark Wayne is also getting confused.
This is war, and we're taking out the threat. And if you're part of the threat, then you have you're a target.
You'll concede this is war.
We haven't declared war. They declared war on us, but we haven't.
War. Secretary Hicks said
we haven't declared.
Just now, you said this is war.
They called it war.
They called it war. What I was saying. Okay, well, that was a misspoke.
You misspoke. Of course we did, sweetie. Quite unbelievable. In the meantime, of course, this is the epidemic that you might not know about that has been going on in America.
Every one of those red dot maps is a unique IP address that is downloaded, shared, or distributing child rape images, almost all under the age of 12. And that's just a 6-month screenshot of it. And there are over 338,000 on there. There's blue dots on there. You can't really see them, but the blue ones are the ones that are under investigation.
In a sea of red.
Isn't that a problem of what we're talking about? Every one of those red dot maps is a unique
I am going to play that one more time so it sinks in.
IP address that is downloaded, shared, or distributing child rape images, almost all under the age of 12. And that's just a 6-month screenshot of it. And there are over 338,000 on there. There's blue dots on there. You can't really see them, but the blue ones are the ones that are under investigation.
In a sea of red.
Isn't that a problem of what we're talking about?
There we are. There you go. 338,000 of them. 338,000 IP addresses that are downloading that sort of stuff. Let's get into some more stuff, shall we? This, of course, is lots and lots of people getting very, very upset about this in America.
Others out there are worried that we're going to have a draft, that they're going to see their sons get in and daughters get involved in this. What do you want to say about the president's plans for troops on the ground? As we know, it's been largely an air campaign up until now.
It has been, and it will continue to be, and President Trump wisely does not remove options off of the table. I know a lot of politicians like to do that quickly, but the president, as commander-in-chief, wants to continue to assess the success of this military operation. It's not part of the current plan right now, but the president, again, wisely keeps his options on the table.
There are no plans, part of the current plan. What plan exactly is that? Of course, is that to not be able to defend, say, Erbil once again? We can't show you that video, I'm afraid. It seems to be blocked. The Erbil site once again has been hit. And of course, Haifa has taken a pound. Now, why are Iran using cluster munitions? Naughty Iran. Until you look at this. Here we go. White phosphorus is being used by Israel. Now, this isn't me. This is Human Rights Watch are saying that Israel are firing white phosphorus over Lebanese homes. And they are complaining about cluster munitions. Do unto others. Ever heard that before? And of course, the Israeli clusters are doing quite the damage. Nicholas.
I can't remember which radio journalist it was, but he went to a hospital in Lebanon where children have been, who were suffering from phosphorus bombs. And he said they were burning from the inside. Their lungs were on fire from the inside. And you could see that every time they breathed out, there was like a burning, smoke coming from them. There's no way they could survive it. But they were in hospital. They can't put water down there or anything like that because that just makes it worse. It's just it's a death sentence, really.
It is a death sentence. Once phosphorus gets into the lungs, it literally does burn you from the inside out.
And not only that, they're doing it on children as well. Children get affected as much as adults. And it's all civilian areas they're using it.
Yeah, absolutely they are. And of course, if you want to see the effects of a cluster bomb, here's one. Keep your eye just above the two cars on the right there for the civilian walking past as a cluster bomb comes in on Israel. There he is. Watch this guy here. Now, luckily, it didn't land straight on him, and of course, there are people that suddenly go to his aid. But of course, if you are in the vicinity of one of these cluster bombs, the Ukraine have been using these since the very start of the war. And just to give you a heads up on that, by the way, they bombed a children's hospital. Here's the video of this. Yeah. Got some many years there. And we're going to have a full report on Ukraine tomorrow. It will be a full program on that, unless something amazing happens. Of course, we're going to be giving Iran a bit of a rest for a day. We'll be back on it the day after. But just to let you know that is coming tomorrow. We're going to be having a full, complete report on the whole of the situation going on with Ukraine, including the maps and everything else that is going on there at the moment. So just to give you a heads up on that. Something else we're going to give you a heads up on. Have a look at this. This is Chinese. This is Wang Yi.
Second, full implementation of zero tariff access to 100% of African imports as from May the 1st. As part of China's commitment to high standard opening up, we are removing tariffs completely to boost trade, to multiply benefits for the people, and to help Africa access the enormous opportunities of the Chinese market.
There we go. So 53 countries in Africa are being given zero tariffs by the Chinese so they can get in front of that. Something else to have a look at. This is Ted Lieu. Have a listen to what he's got to say.
So why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage your press to go look at these allegations, and I'm highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize the establishment at that party, yes, you're guilty, because patronizing is part of the law, of the federal sex trafficking law. So Deputy General Todd Blanche just got that wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law and investigate these people. He also needs to resign, not only for not knowing the law, but a massive, not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now, who were girls at the time, who were victims of sex trafficking. Also, he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to a minimum security prison, and then got a puppy for her. So for all those reasons, he's just got to leave the Department of Justice.
So there we go. That is an allegation made, by the way, outside of basically the safe area inside the Congress. So let's see what happens from there. It's an allegation he's making. Nilis.
Yeah, I think should also be remembered that Jeffrey Epstein was doing two things. He was grooming girls, young schoolgirls, and paying them money, and they could go to their families. But he was also trafficking in younger girls. They say that they were up from 4 years old onwards. And I think one of the worst things he did was he was baby farming as well. They said that he would get girls pregnant, and they didn't even realize what pregnancy was. They were so young, and they were giving birth. And of course, if you give birth to a child on his island or in other places he had, they wouldn't have a birth certificate, and they can do anything you like with them. You can sexually exploit the babies. You can do medical experiments on them. You have a freedom because they don't have a birth certificate, and so they don't exist according to the world. Another thing he did was he had a dentist chair, and apparently these young children from 4 years old, he would take all their teeth out so they couldn't harm his clients when they did what they call oral sex.
Whatever they were doing. Yeah, exactly that. Thank you very much for that. A few other stories to let you know before you go. B-52s, they have now arrived in Fairford, 3 of them from America. These are the giant heavy bombers that they use. They've now arrived, as I say, in America. Let's have a little look at this as well, because this is Ukraine's so-called most experienced pilot. He has now been killed while in the theatre of war. He was shot down and he is now confirmed as dead. He is there so-called Top Gun, if you like, their best pilot. So he's gone and he's out of the way. A couple of other videos and then a couple of other things we've got to show you. Have a listen to these lunatics.
There was also the 150 school girls that were killed. I mean, ultimately, you see this as worth it. Like, yeah,
100%. 100% is worth it, yes.
There was that school in Iran that was bombed, 150 dead. But you see this all as worth it. I mean, you think we should go to the end.
Yes, it's worth it, and that's why we are here. We are gonna protest.
Even if it was not an Islamic regime missile, it was worth it. Very, very worth it.
And sorry, you are accusing the IRGC of genocide.
Yeah, they killed around 32,500 people.
It has been like 2 months that we lost like over 50,000 people got killed.
In January, in 2 days, they massacred people, 90,000 people.
90,000.
90,000 people, and some people are still in the prison. Some people, they take out their eyes, and it's in 2 days.
You would support Donald Trump, for example, sending troops or sending more airstrikes to Iran?
Yeah, whatever Trump is doing, it is helping us, of course, 100%.
There was also a report today that he was considering sending troops to Iran, and you would support that?
Yes, I would support that, yes, because I believe he's doing the right thing.
Donald Trump has been looking at more options, airstrikes, but also sending troops to Iran. Would you guys be supporting that?
Yes, we will.
He's considering sending troops in as well. Is that something you'd support?
Actually, that's what we want.
Yeah. And I also see a lot of Israeli flags here. I mean, this is also to protect Israel from Iran as well, yes?
Exactly.
Thank you to President Trump and Netanyahu for standing with people.
If you had Donald Trump's ear right now, you were in the Oval Office, private room, what would you tell him to do?
Please finish the job. Just finish it, whatever it takes. Honestly, I haven't been back to my country over 20 years. I'm not planning to go back. This is my country now. America is my country. And I know this is the best for Americans and for Iranians in Iran.
You're not planning on going back to
No.
And thank you, President Trump. You are my brother. You are my father. You are everything for myself, for my country, for my people. And
there's people from supposedly that country saying it's perfectly acceptable to kill 150 kids if you overthrow the government. Lee Williams.
Have they been brainwashed in that country by any chance?
Oh, quite incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, shall we have a bit of down-to-earth Russian ambassador to the UK? We'll have that in a second after we've listened to Sean Murphy. John.
Well, Warren, you've got to remember, pretty much all of those people were the dare I say, the royalists, the Shah supporters who got out when the Shah was deposed.
Yeah.
And they still support him, and they hate the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Yes.
And they don't care what happens to the people because they got out and they've got no ambition to go back.
Yeah, and quite a few of them, you could tell the accents were different, so definitely paid protesters. Nilis, then Louis Bastor.
Yeah, the same is exactly in Britain. The Iranian diaspora are largely the Iranian elites that fled after the Shah was deposed. They put a lot of money out of Iran, or they had a lot of money in Western countries anyway. The majority of them live in London, around the Finchley area, which is one of the most expensive areas in London. And when the Ayatollah Khamenei was assassinated, Tulsi TV went onto the streets of Finchley with loads of people. They all had Israeli flags and as well as the Iranian forces flags, and they were dancing for joy.
Yeah, what a surprise! They were dancing for joy on the same day as 160 kids get killed. And we know, Nilis, that Mayor Tusi has been to Israel and takes money. You know, it's why his TV channel is so popular.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be forgotten that people like Larry Johnson and other CIA analysts said that the worst type of torture went on in Iran during the time of the
It
Shah.
did, yeah. I mean, the Shah of Iran, we'll do a little program on that. The actual Shah of Iran was a butcher like you've never seen. The amount of people he actually killed in his own country is incredible. Thank you for that, Nicholas. Louis Vastos.
What I don't understand is why the whole world is paying for what Germany did to the Jews. Why don't they go and bomb? Why don't they go bomb Germany? Why don't they leave everybody else alone and go and concentrate on Germany? These guys they must be smoking something horrendous, these people.
Louis, stop it. Germany are on the way back. If you listen to Mertz, Germany are on the way back. Unbelievable. Let's have a dose of reality from the Russian ambassador. I always like this guy because we in Britain always interview him, and we try to get him to say something or try to be defensive, and he's not. He's just very straight out there. Have a listen to this.
So this is interesting because most of the Gulf Cooperation Council countries have come out in support of the Israel and American action. Is Russia going to be neutral in this?
We are not neutral. No, we are neutral. We are supportive to Iran, of course, and we consider, as I have said, very negatively what is being done. And besides, we do not understand this logic. It is the logic at the moment of Western countries and of the others is that Iran is to blame for everything. But no one is saying that US and Israel has initiated an attack against Iran, and Iran is only responding to this attack. So this is simply unfair.
Once again, trying to box him into a corner. Just wasn't having a bar of it. A couple of other things just before we go, a couple of friendly things. Here's Kim Jong-un, desperate to get in on on the score here. Please start up another account under Netanyahu's name and insult me. Kim, with all the toys in the world, but no one to play with. And this as well. Would you believe the Green Party actually posted this? I hope you're still using paper cups, guys. That, of course, is an oil depot burning brightly. Of course, nobody in the Green Party, everybody's supporting the war, but nobody in the Green Party is talking about the oil that is going up and, of course, the impact that will have on the environment, especially out at sea as well. If you have enjoyed the show and you like what we do here, come over to Patreon, type in the name Warren Thornton, as you see on the screen there, and you, of course, can subscribe and be part of the show. Now, this is a one-off show where we've let you see the whole program, but normally we'll be showing you videos, and we will be doing that tomorrow night. We'll be showing you videos that get you banned on all the other channels. So if you like what you've seen, and I know there's quite a few people watching on X, thank you very much for coming and watching the show and come across. It is live and interactive. So all the people you see that come on here and talk, they're people just like you. They want to have their say and they want to be able to be heard. And that is exactly what we have here. You don't have to type it. You can write it in the comments if you want, or you can come and talk. This is what it's here for. This is why the show is becoming more and more popular. And of course, it's certainly popular overseas. Thanks ever so much. The farting cows, Guy Mero, of course, the methane that's the problem. Isn't it amazing? And of course, when the climate lobby lost me was when they turned around and said that in the 13th century, the global warming period was down to farting cows. Quite incredible. It is massively stupid. Once again, thank you for watching the show. Glad everybody in the chat enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it out there too. And we will see you tomorrow morning, 7:30. And just in case you don't know, for the people out there, we have a subscriber show in the morning, 7:30, and that can last God knows how long, which you can talk on. And also a new show at night, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., 6 nights a week, that you can literally come and have your say on all the things that are going on. Thanks ever so much for watching. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, Warren. Good night, everybody.
Good night.